More responsibility in government lead to reduction in spending. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Local Edition. With me this hour is Delaware State Representative Tom Kovach. Thanks so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure, Jill. Thank you.
When we talk about government responsibility, it's something that all governments strive toward, but it's something that you think could actually save money by looking at the bottom line, going through the budget line by line, figuring out areas that can be cut, but still not cut services. What are some of the things that you're working on right now in order to try and come up with a balanced budget, even in this economic climate?
Well, that's a very good question, because right now in this economy, we can't shift the burden for the government revenue from the state to the people. I mean, the people and the citizens need their income now more than ever. So we have to look at ways at cutting government spending, cutting government waste. You really have to examine programs that are out there that are non-core government services. You have to look at reducing redundancies that have been built into our government in times of good economic growth. We've unfortunately allowed our government to grow way too large. One of the first things we need to do is rein in the size of our government. We shouldn't be providing all these services. We shouldn't be the largest employer by far within the state. We need to do a better job of encouraging private growth and private development rather than funding all these services with the government. To your question of what we can do, we can examine specific programs. We can look to outsource some of these services that we're providing that aren't really government, really core government services.
Give us an example of what you mean by a non-core government service.
Absolutely. It's really important that we as a government don't take on every single role. We have a huge environmental agency in DNREC. They do a great job. They're underfunded in some areas, but we give them too much responsibility. We give DNREC the responsibility for going in and looking at code and building enforcement, for example. We've broadened their area well beyond the expertise of environmental agency. What we should do is we should let those third parties contract with individuals to make sure that they come up to the standards without imposing this on a governmental agency, and then submit a verification that those requirements have been met. Again, we're wasting our government money and our government resources in areas that we shouldn't.
Talk to us a little bit about state employees and the salaries of state employees. There's been a lot of talk in Delaware about actually reducing salaries. As much as 8% has been proposed. What could this potentially mean in terms of, one, saving the state money, but also the impact it would have on these individuals' lives?
That's a very vital question for these citizens. Government employees, they're easiest to hit because there are so many of them. So we say, okay, let's reduce their salary by 8% because we could bring in $92 million to the state. Well, you're taking $92 million out of the state economy and out of these state employees' pockets. The criticism about state government is not generally the pay of the state employees. Some of these employees, most of these employees are working well below market rates. So to hit them with a salary reduction takes away discretionary income, if any, and some much needed income. State employees earn between $18,000 and $32,000. If you hit them with an 8% pay cut, those people aren't going to pay their rent, they're not going to make the mortgage, they're going to be below poverty level if you do that. So instead of really ignoring the issue of this large state government we have, we're temporarily reducing the size. We need to attack directly the size of our state government and make it much more smaller and much more efficient.
We just have a short time left, but when you talk about reining in state government, reducing the size, you could potentially be talking about layoffs, even furloughs, for example. But what would this mean as you move forward into the next budget cycle for trying to find ways to save the state money?
Well, that's right. You have to plan into your budget cycle, affirmatively plan for a reduction in forces. And you have to do that, and you can a lot of times rely on attrition, rely on retirement, but if you don't get there, those hard decisions have to be addressed head on and reduce the size of government, even if it means layoffs.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
We've been talking with State Representative Tom Kovach. I'm Jill Horner for Comcast Local Edition.